Oh my goodness, that was so sweet. I think.
This is high praise for Virginia. I love my chicken.
Although I should say, one honorable mention in Glimmer, or the Glimmer Canals, although, I mean, they're both, I don't know what maybe I wrote that. Maybe it was aspirational. I don't know. I'm just going to set the record straight. I was flattered either way, but thank you. It's so nice to be here. It's so beautiful, and yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe this is the background right now for me. So thank you. Once I sent a photograph of my butt to my friend's boyfriend. I've always had a mole right near the like cleftal horizon, and one day I looked at it in the mirror. I hadn't seen it for years. It was much bigger than I remembered. So I looked up moles on the internet, as you do, and I learned that moles do not grow on their own. That when moles grow, it is a bad cancer-y thing. And there are some moles that when they grow are round and slightly raised, as I realized my butt mole was, which are not merely melanoma, which is curable if caught early and deadly if not, but ultra mega melanoma, which isn't the scientific term, but which I was convinced that I had. And it's deadly as soon as it shows up. So I called my husband to tell him that I may have melanoma or ultra mega melanoma, and he came home early from work because every second counts with ultra mega. And I showed him the photograph on the internet, and then we both got scared. The dermatologist I called was not as scared and said I could come in 2 weeks, which doesn't seem like enough time. So I emailed my friend, whose boyfriend was a PhD candidate at OHSU and whose specialty was skin cancer. I emailed him a photo of my butthole. So my friend replied that he said that it was probably fine, but to get it checked out just in case. And then she also asked why I didn't crop more. And I told her that it seemed that scale was important, and I didn't know how to take a selfie while balancing a penny on my butt. So I went to the doctor. He thought it was probably fine, but I removed them all just to be sure. And the tests came back negative. But now my husband would rile me because it turns out he was somewhat attached to my mole, and its absence saddened him. But I said if he was that attached, he should have been keeping tabs. And as it turns out, my butt mole was probably bigger because my butt was probably bigger since we first met. So we'll just have to mourn its loss together. But there are worse things. I think about getting a tattoo over it, like maybe an anchor, or like a smiley face emoji, like winking. So I know I'm not the only self-certified MD. It is comforting to have internet, to have a place to place anxiety instead of letting it free float. There are so many things that can go wrong. And I have kids, and with kids there is just no end. This goes for every parent. When your child is born, your heart now lives outside of your body, the saying goes. And if you are already prone to anxiety, woo boy, you can just surrender to the water park log flume. Hands up. And I know that I skew in this direction because my husband tells me also, and he knows how to WebMD hypochondria. When there isn't something wrong with me to worry about, there's probably something wrong with the kids. My daughter's hair won't grow like other kids' hair. I've only given her a few haircuts of a ½ inch, a trim. It won't go past her shoulders. But there is a name for it now. The worry is controlled by language, by learning the name. It says to talk to a doctor if I have concerns. And so I did. There are worse things that a child can have. Once my daughter was in our yard putting everything in her mouth. I saw her pick up a piece of glass. The house is old, and each new rain washes up a new batch. And then she puts her hand to her mouth, and then the glass is gone. We take her to the ER. They x-ray her stomach, and then the doc said they didn't find any glass. But they did find a large amount of granular sediment. Oh, that's just from the sandbox, I say. It's nothing to worry about there. Once, my son was breathing fast. He was 14 days old and up all night, throwing my milk back up at me. But apparently babies breathe fast sometimes. But I call my doctor just to be sure. The doctor says, "Is it like spit up?" And I'm like, "I don't think so. I'm coated in my own yogurt." So he says, "Go to the ER just to be sure." And they give him an exam, and they take the temp and listen to his heart and don't find anything wrong. So they attach an IV just in case. But in babies, their veins are often too small, so they have to attach an IV to his head, which I feel awful about. We were there for a while, and I feel bad for panicking because now he has this big skull IV. And then they hook him up to a machine that goes beep, like in a Monty Python sketch. I think there is a machine that goes beep. And then they leave, and then the machine goes beep. And then I put my head out in the hall, and there was nobody there. But finally, a nurse comes into the room, kind of casual. She thinks the machine is broken. A baby's heart cannot beat 320 times per minute. The pediatrician comes in, kind of casual, and listens to his heart with a stethoscope. She seems confused, says, "I think I am listening wrong." I'm double counting, I think. She gives it to the nurse for a second opinion. The nurse is listening and also perplexed as the doctor opens his shirt. Is he always modeled like this? She asks of the purple and white pattern on his body, like some large deep sea fish who has never seen the sun. No, I say. She closes the shirt and leaves. Then a nurse comes in and says calmly, "We're going to move you to a larger room." Well, that sounds nice, I say. We've been in there a while, and it sounded like an upgrade. But I am not understanding. In the large room, a flock of doctors converge. In the corner, there is a machine that can start a heart. They turn it on, just to be on the safe side, the nurse tells me, and 10 minutes later they use it. Our life is a medical drama for the next week. The machine keeps going beep. He keeps slipping into tachycardia, the ultra-fast heartbeat. They keep needing to, essentially, turn him on and off again, using electrical currents in the two small paddles, injecting things into his head, holding him upside down, or suffocating him with a bag of ice on his face until he stops breathing. These are actual medical maneuvers. At one point, a chaplain comes into the room, a Roman collar. I do not even know what a chaplain is or does exactly, so I ask him, "What if I'm a Buddhist?" I ask, but I'm not sure if that's what I am. "I can offer spiritual comfort in any religion," he says. "Oh." He asks if we can pray, and I'm like, "I guess." I don't want to say no. And then he puts his hand over my son and says, "Dear God, bless this child." And then the machine goes beep. And then he goes into tachycardia. And then the doctors all rush into the room. Let me put you out of your fear. While it took a while to find the right combination of medication, my son turned out okay. He was diagnosed with supraventricular tachycardia, that is the name, SVT for short, which as far as things that go wrong with the heart is the best thing a child can have. I asked the specialist, the pediatric electrocardiologist, why it took hours for them to figure out he was in tachycardia. He explained calmly, "I expect a pediatric heart doctor always needs to be very calm." He explains that sometimes a diagnosis is so different than what doctors expect that they don't even trust their instruments. It is hard to change a belief. It is human, and even doctors are fooled. Perhaps I think their thinking was pinned to me, a reaction to the overly worried mother, still classic. My sister came to visit recently, and I saw a big mole on her stomach when she was changing. "That's not right," I said. I've seen so many mole pictures in my self-diagnosis, but I consider myself an expert. "This," she said, "it's fine. I've had it a while." "Get it checked," I said. "Promise me you will." "It's probably nothing," the dermatologist tells her, but did a biopsy anyway. but it was something. It was melanoma, stage 1. And she got treated, and she is fine. And now she is forever in my debt. Which is a great position to be in as a sibling. So I am not giving up my WebMD license anytime soon, in case of worse things. Thank you.